listening to Filling the Storehouse podcast. I'm David.
And I'm Stuart. And we want to walk with you on the journey to living the abundant life through faith, family, and freedom. Our goal is to refine our why while helping you find yours. Together, achieve our best and highest purpose. In the end, we'll drive each other to intentionally fill our storehouse.
There's more potential today than at any point in history, and there are more self-help resources, parenting books, phones with unlimited capacity, and literal libraries at our fingertips, too. And we also have more quote-unquote friends, connections, followers, or whatever you want to call the photographs staring back at us through the screen than ever before in history. Yet every single day, we miss another opportunity to turn all that potential into kinetic action that drives us towards our highest and best. And we are lonelier than ever before.
Yeah, man. When we analyzed our own lives, we realized that we needed more fellowship, more connectedness, more community, like real friends, not just like our Facebook friends. And we're surrounded by an amazing network. Like we have an amazing group of men and women that are in our lives, but we still desired to be a part of a thriving community. So we knew other men felt the same way.
And with that gap that we identified, the Storehouse Mastermind was born, and we built a community of men striving to become the best husbands, the best fathers, friends, and leaders possible. And the best part is that in this mastermind, you'll be significantly challenged by the curriculum, but even more so by the exceptional group of amazing men walking with you on your journey.
Yeah, so go to our new website, storehouse310.com. There's a mastermind tab on there. Go to that immediately. Click the join now button. And we look forward to having you in the Storehouse Mastermind to grow and serve together. All right, David.
All right. Hey, Joe, can you guys hear me? I'm talking through my shirt. Stuart is highly contagious with the vids. So I want to make sure that the Zoom call is safety first.
David, so Joe, you cannot pass COVID through the interwebs.
Allegedly, Stuart. There's a lot of fake news out there, and I just want to make sure that I'm being safe. Okay.
Gotcha. Joe, welcome to the show, man. This is Filling the Storehouse podcast. And I know pre-recording, there's all kinds of preparation for this. And I know David said that you can go ahead and make fun of me all you want. That's kind of his standard gig, but I'll go out on public and say that you're welcome to go ahead and make fun of him as well if you want.
Okay. Yeah. Equal opportunity here. I appreciate that.
We look for equal opportunity here.
This show is about integrity and honesty, Joe. And before you start, because it's about you as well, I want to make one thing very clear. I simply highlight that it is very easy, and there will be multiple occasions upon which you can make fun of Stu. And to the point, Stuart started before you hit record. He said, and I quote, so Joe, you said, hey, is there any kind of way you guys do this? And Stu said, no, we just do it au naturel. Which, for those of you out there that know what au naturel means, this could be a very interesting YouTube video if that were indeed true, because most people consider that as doing it in the nude, Stuart. And just rest assured, anybody who goes to YouTube, Stuart is not naked. Thank the Lord.
You don't know what's going on down below here.
And I don't need to.
Oh.
And I don't need to.
Yeah.
All we need to know is that you have a shirt on, mostly covering your face with a hat, which is also a huge benefit. And so, au naturel, let's kick this thing off.
Let's do this. Have you had any recent dad fails, David?
Oh, man. Recent ones. Usually it's a daily thing, but I can't think of one that sticks out at the moment. How about you?
Not necessarily a dad fail, but yesterday, so as you already announced to the world that I have the COVID, our whole family had COVID, and my son, who's 4, he hasn't figured out yet like how to slow down even when he's feeling awful. Like, he's 4 and he has COVID and he doesn't feel good, but all he wants to do is play and go 1,000 miles an hour all day long. And like, I don't know at what age it clicks, but he felt so terrible, and he was so tired all day long, but all he wanted to do is play, and all he wanted to do is go, 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 go. And like he got to this point where he would just like break down at anything. Like, you know, I would say like the sky's blue, and he'd be like, no, and he'd like drop to his knees and just like freak out. But then he'd get back up and want to play again. And it was just an incredibly challenging day for me yesterday, as we all have COVID, and I'm trying to play with my 4-year-old who's just like breaking down at a moment's notice. So I don't know how to handle that as a dad.
The apple does not fall far from the tree, my friend.
Yeah. Joe, I know you're a dad. Have you had any experiences like that yet?
I mean, we don't even have COVID, and I feel like I don't know what my excuse is. You know, it just gets after a certain time of day where my toddler just, you know, looks at me in a certain way, and all of a sudden, Daddy made me sad, you know, and just it's like, all I said was, do you need to go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
You can say no.
Right. Yesterday, like literally, it was kind of getting close to bedtime, and I was going to take a shower, and, you know, the kids had just had their bath. I know the kids had just gotten their bath, and I was going to jump in the shower, and Wells, my son, comes in and goes, Daddy, are you going to take a shower? I was like, yeah, I'm going to take a shower. No. And he like drops to the floor and like starts throwing a fit because I said, I'm going to take a shower. And I was like, I don't know what I just said, but yeah. So
is it terrible that my immediate reaction, if my kid did that, would be like, cool, because my kids hate showers. Yeah. My boys hate showers at this point. And so I would probably pick him up and put him in the shower, turn it on with me, whether it came out cold, hot, whatever, and just let it happen. That would be my immediate response, which is probably, so I didn't do that, but that would be a dad fail that I would absolutely, I wouldn't think about it. I would absolutely do that. 100%.
So I have done that. I have put my kid in the shower and turned it on cold water. Yeah, he didn't like that too much.
Hey, Wim Hof, dude. We're trying to teach Wim Hof. Okay.
Anyways, we are way off subject.
Way off.
And this is a fun start to the podcast. But hey, Joe. So Joe Newton's a part of my Life in Air group in our mastermind, and we connected him and his wife Taylor in Appleton when we were up at our retreat, and just had some fun conversations. And Joe's been on the Life in Air podcast show. He's speaking as well and doing some stuff with them, and so I thought Joe would be a great guest for us. He talks all things business systems and processes, and there's some books in the background there called Systemology and Life in Air. And so we're going to get into all that today. But Joe, first, if you could just give us a little bit of background about who you are and why Systemology. I know you didn't start in business systems, right?
No, I started trying to fail at business every way that I could figure out how.
Yeah.
Years and years ago, when my wife and I first got married, I was the general manager of a specialty coffee shop and figured out the best thing they could do is give half of my job away to an accountant and then take the other guy who I'd raised up to run day-to-day operations, fire me, and save about half of my salary. And
nice.
Funny enough, they agreed to that. They said, well, actually, that is a good idea. So I, at that point, needed to figure out what I wanted to be when I grow up. And my wife said, you always talk about this real estate thing. Why don't you go do real estate? And so I went and got my real estate license and quickly found out that just doing real estate and owning your own business is not the dream that everyone paints it out to be. So I had a flipping business that didn't flip one property, but did lose some money. I had a owner financing company that I started, which did make money, which was wonderful. But I got to learn all kinds of beautiful lessons about getting threatened and to be sued. And so I had multiple different opportunities to learn about what not to do with business. I had a partner who I ended up paying to just please walk away, give me my equity back. And after all of that, I finally learned enough that I realized, wait a minute, there's a better way to do this. And I began to learn about systems, processes, read the E-Myth, like so many of us do. And when I finished that, I came to the conclusion that, hey, systemizing a business is what you should do to simplify this thing and actually be able to live the dream. But I didn't have a system to do that. And over a number of years, I'm trying to make the long story short, I ended up figuring out how to do it within my own business. Then through a mastermind I was running, I started to help some other business owners systemize their business. And finally, I found out about Systemology, which is basically a framework, a system for systemizing your business. And now that's what I'm certified in and that I utilize with all my clients. And life is a much better place now that I've focused and systemized. So long answer to a short question. That's how I got to Systemology.
No, that's great. I have a couple questions. The first question, and we could probably take this offline. You'll need to tell me how much you paid your partner to just walk away. If you don't mind. Just curious.
No, well, and so that was specifically with I was going to build a real estate team at that point, and for all intents and purposes, it was still at the very beginnings. Luckily, like within a couple of months, I realized, wait a minute, this is not what I thought it was. This person is not. I don't want to say anything negative, but I basically wrote him a check for, I forget, a couple of thousand and said, hey, can we call this even? Like, we haven't done anything yet. Let's just walk away. Give me the equity back in my company. And we'll call it a bummer because
hypothetically, the partnership I'm talking about, hypothetically, the business partnership started in around 2018. So it's been a number of years now.
The friendship started back in 2002-ish.
So. Dude, it started in 98, man.
98,
since 98. That's right. Come on, man.
Hey, before you ask your question, David, Joe, I think it's super interesting that you kind of bring up all these failures, if you will, in real estate, because like a lot of people don't talk about all the bad side of real estate. And most of the circles that we run around in, like, real estate's so cool, it's so awesome, it's so easy,
so sexy,
it's so sexy. Like, that you can get rich, you can get wealthy, like there's so many ways you can, passive income, but there's a lot of stuff that actually can go really bad and wrong with real estate, and there's a lot of stuff that isn't very much fun. We should maybe do another podcast. Maybe we'll have you come back on, Joe, where we just like talk about all the failures of real estate. But yeah,
I could do a whole podcast. I've done them all.
Man. So can David. We'll do another one.
Do as I say, not as I do.
That's right. That's right. But David, to your question, I know it's going to be awesome.
Well, it's interesting. You preempted it pretty well. I was actually curious if, all these failures that you had, quote unquote failures, do you think you would be anywhere near where you are right now without those failures?
I mean, the obvious question is no, or answer is no. I did. I am now. It's sort of, you can't have a testimony without the test, right? Like it sucks when you're going through it. But when you have walked all the way through it in a weird kind of way, you're at least thankful now that you have that knowledge, that you have that experience. And I am really thankful that I now know never to do a 50-50 partnership. I now know I need to get super specific on paper, talk about the divorce before we do anything, before I go into a partnership. So I'm very, very thankful for that. And most likely I wouldn't be exactly where I am. Would I have minded getting here a little bit quicker? Do I think someone else could get to where I am without having to go through that? 100% yes. I'm here to help you do that. So yes.
If you don't mind, you alluded to it, but what do you do now?
Yeah, I'm a systemologist. So I help small business owners get free from the day-to-day operations so they can focus on what they do best. I help them systemize their business, create documentation, create simple dashboards, all of the sexy stuff that everyone dreams about doing, in business. So that's in a nutshell. I'm a systemologist.
Yeah, David dreams about doing that kind of stuff all the time.
Yeah,
He
you're like some
loves it.
SOPs. That's
Yeah.
right, baby.
Excel spreadsheets,
That's all I dream about.
That's all he dreams about.
You guys are making me break out into a sweat right now of anxiety and nightmare recollection.
Well, and let me tell you this, just to encourage everybody. I'm literally the last person that also should be doing what I'm doing. I have the paperwork that says I'm a dyslexic, aka I am not detail oriented. I have a theater degree, so I am a creative at heart. I am obviously able to fail extremely well within business, but I found for me, like once I got this stuff, it's simplified everything for my life, and so just encouragement to anybody out there who is feeling like you're a big failure right now. Like, you simplify and everything's going to be okay. If I had to say two things to you. So just wanted to share that real quick.
Oh, that's good, man. That's encouraging for sure. And, I'm curious, there's a lot of, especially in the real estate world, there's a lot of kind of one-man shows, where like you start, and most people just do that, exactly that. You start and do everything in your business. And I was actually on a call this morning with someone, and he was asking like, hey, how do I start not doing everything in my business? And so I'm curious, I'm going to turn that over to you, the systemologist. Like, where does someone start as like a solopreneur, solo real estate investor, to try to put these systems and processes in place so they're not working in their business every day and they can start working on it?
Yeah, I'll give the cliche answer first, and that would be it starts with mindset.
Okay.
Getting really, I recently finally read that super popular book, The Who Not How, and I think one of my big takeaways from that is that it is really about mindset and starting to ask yourself different questions and begin to ask the questions of, okay, how do I build a business versus how do I build a job? And I think I have a buddy of mine who runs a group called Financial Journey, and it's all about taking your wealth building and thinking about it like a business. So even if you own another business, it all funnels into your wealth business. And the whole goal is to like, okay, how do I build something that you and I know this, all three of us, it's like, let's get clear on our vision and work backwards. And once we get to our specific business, it's just asking ourselves, okay, how do I build this in a way that is going to allow me the free time that I need? So that's kind of the cliche mindset. It starts with the big picture answer. But once you've done that, then some of the questions I begin to ask myself are, one, what are the things that I do more than once? And this can be something as simple as like emails. If I send this email multiple times, go into Google and into your Gmail, and there's at the bottom right, there's a place where you can turn it into a template and just start creating some simple templates that are going to save you a little bit of time. So do small things like that so that you can start to get time to work on your business and not in it. So freeing yourself up to have that time. So through those small things, another thing I would do is ask yourself, what personal tasks can I hire out? Having someone mow your lawn. I'm even about to get to the place to where it's like someone doing laundry, because I start doing the math. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, $50. Okay, do that twice a month. Like, I can save how much time, and I don't have a basket of laundry that sits there forever, not, getting folded. So the personal tasks like that are really the ones that I found that you get the most ROI on hiring out to other people, even before you start hiring out within your business. Because most people are like, oh, I need to get a VA, I need to get an admin. But no, go to the personal tasks. Those most likely are going to give you the most bandwidth, along with starting to templatize. I don't even know if that's a word, little areas within your business. And then being intentional with that bandwidth to now say, okay, now I'm going to take some time and break down my business. What are the different hats or departments within my business, and getting specific about what the tasks are within each one of those. And so that I can more easily then hand them off. And I could keep going more tactical into each of those, but that's at a high and lower level, kind of how I would encourage someone to start to get out of their business.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. I love how you started with mindset. And one of the things Stu and I have been talking about a lot recently, and I'm just kind of curious, this, as you were talking about it, popped in my head. And I've been having a number of conversations with other actually Life and Air business owners and about the idea of paying yourself. Yeah. And when you create, and I've been recently like completely transformed in the way that I view business and the way that the mindset of paying yourself, and that the business has to be sustainable in a way that you're sustainable, or else everything around that business fails. And a lot of us really, really struggle. And I literally wrote a text to a guy yesterday. I said, you're never doing the right thing when you are hooking somebody up and not making any money on a deal. Like, that is never the right thing, because now you jeopardize yourself, you jeopardize your business, and you jeopardize all the people that rely on your business. But it's this crazy mindset that I keep running into. And I'm curious, when you look at it from a system standpoint, and the whole point of a business is to make money, how do you address some of these bigger mindset things? Because I know you said it's cliche, but I think it's the hardest thing for people to get past. Stu
it's cliche included. For a reason, right? Because it gets brought up over and over and over because it's real. So with the specific mindset that you're talking about right there, it feels like you're digging into the mindset that we have to where we want to give, and in all honesty, we want to help others, right? Like there's a Bible verse to the right or left of your head there. We're good Christian people. We actually want to serve, help, and bring value to others. But the trap, what you just talked about, as far as giving your services away for free, I think in essence, there's nothing wrong with giving value to someone else and helping them. With what you said there, I would first ask the person, one, if you give this away to someone else, is it going to help them as much as if they paid for it? Because we all know, if you have to pay for something, you're going to value it more. And like my services, unless the Lord, now this is the trump card always, if God says, give this away, boom, I'm doing it. Like, trump card, exception to the rule, bam. But if I don't hear him say that, if someone is needing that, it's almost weird, but it feels like a disservice for me not to charge them, because they're not going to value it. They're not going to be as serious about it. They're not going to take as much away from it. And for me, one of the things we do is help people create written SOPs, right? Well, if I create all that for them, they didn't have to pay for it. There's a really good chance they're not going to use it afterwards. They're not going to then take the time and say, okay, how do I start to build a culture around this? So it's almost questioning yourself and saying, is this the best thing? Like if you have a young person and or here's actually a better analogy, the lottery. Someone wins the lottery. How many of them have actually become successful and built wealth after that? I mean, the statistics are crazy. Like none, no one, even people who somehow have had a business and been successful beforehand, they get this huge chunk of free and it usually destroys them. So that's, just that specific mindset. I would dig in and ask myself, is this actually the best thing I can do for them?
Yeah, man, there's a lot of I think some self-doubt too, like limiting beliefs of like what your value is that you can provide. And I mean, there's some of that going on with David and I too, as we're starting this other mastermind group that I was telling you about when we were hanging out. How do you value yourself? Like, how do you value the time and effort that you're putting into something to kind of create? It's hard. It's really hard to do. It's also really hard to, like you're talking about, and I heard you talk about this on the Life and Air show, where that first step of kind of getting rid of some of your personal stuff, like mowing the lawn. Dude, I love mowing the lawn. Like I actually really enjoy mowing the lawn. There's like like satisfaction out of it for me. But I heard that, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like, I need to go find somebody to mow my lawn. And I actually found a high school kid, and he was going to come this weekend to mow it for the first time ever. I've never paid someone, but I got COVID, and so I told him that he, didn't need to come over. And so
were you going to go outside? Like, the lawn's outside.
Like,
or do you have one of those weird houses? No, okay.
No, but
we live in a yurt. We're in Colorado. We're very,
that's right. I didn't want to risk it, but he's going to come next week. So I'm taking your advice, man.
That's awesome. And because I've heard that from multiple people that I've told that to. They're like, but I enjoy doing my lawn. And I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
For a season, can you hire someone? And you've always got the option. I'm not saying you got to sell the lawnmower. If you really enjoy it, like for a season, figure out what's the priority, build the business, and then once every 6 months, go out there, you mow that lawn, and pay them to do it every other week. So that's awesome. Good job, Stu.
Thanks, man. Now I need to find some other tasks that we can hire out internally here in the household.
Small steps. Admitting you have a problem. It's the first step to recovery.
But I think it's powerful too. I think the idea. I think two thoughts. One, the idea that that you manage your time well enough to outsource certain things, and then you use that time to be productive in whatever it is that you're pursuing, I think is something that's key. Because a lot of us will, I just gained an hour back. What am I going to do? I'm going to watch some YouTube videos and laugh at cat jokes or whatever. But the other side of that is to, when this idea of valuing yourself and your time. And, everybody talks about, and I actually started thinking about this quite a bit lately too, is, when people say, okay, what are my $50 an hour tasks? What are my $100 an hour tasks? What are my $1,000 hour tasks? And I think it's so common, and it's so, I guess cliche as well to talk it in these terms, but I don't think a lot of us have really taken the time to sit down and analyze and even put a number on what our time is worth.
Yeah.
And until you really do that, it's pretty hard it's easy to say a $50 an hour. Well, okay. So if I asked you now, what is a $50 an hour task? Most people would be like, wow, I just know that I have other things that are probably worth more, but we've never taken the time through a system, myself included, through a system to be like, okay, no kidding. Like, what are the tasks that I do and what value do I truly assign to those? Because until you actually take that step, it's almost, I could outsource all these different things to build time, but if I'm not truly analyzing, systematizing, and putting a value to that time, then it's almost for naught. And I just joined the club of people that say, oh, I love time freedom. Oh, mindset's great. And $50 an hour tasks, I'm not doing those anymore. Okay, what does that mean? So I think it's super important to get after that. And I'm curious, how do you truly get to that point where you implement these steps? Is there like a process in the systemology where you actually are assigning values to time, or you're able to actually quantify these things?
So to bring a little bit of clarity, systemology specifically is the framework that I use for systemizing a small business. And usually the people I work with have already at least 3 to 5 employees, up to 50. So that's really where systemology is built for. The other stuff that we're talking about is more things that Joe has learned in all of his failings as I got to this point. So I have not formalized it myself outside of a handful of like slides and things that I've created, because I found I've had conversations like this where these things have come up multiple times. One thing, and I have heard where people are like $50 task, this task, $1,000 task. For me, what I did was ask myself, okay, what do I want to be worth an hour? And I wrote that down. And then it was like, okay, anything under that, I need to hire out. Like, if it is under that amount, it makes it real simple. Like, find someone else to do it. If my time is worth this, 150, 300, whatever it is, $1,000 an hour, if my time is worth that, then anything under that, I need to hire out. Like it's super simple at that point. And then again, going back to the who, not how, like that high school kid, you found the who to do that job, not how am I going to get my lawn mowed. You said, who can I pay to mow my lawn, who it would make him super happy. He would be so blessed now. He's got a recurring client. He's got that recurring income we all want. He's got that monthly recurring income. You blessed him. He's happy to do it. You're happy. And yeah, that's so first define what you're worth an hour. Anything less, you got to find the who to hand that off. And something, another nuance to this, I would say, and is always coming back to have the option to have someone else do it. Like with the lawn mowing, you don't have to give it away, but you need to make sure that you're positioned in a way that you can have someone else do it if you need to. So having the option to.
One follow-on, Stu, sorry, because I just don't want to lose this train, but
yeah, go for it.
How did you, I'm just curious, how did you practically, because I'm struggling with what is my time, like
Worth?
defining how much I want my time to be worth. Like, how do you practically do that? Is it desire based, or is there a metrics that you use to say, okay, no kidding, based on this past performance of my consulting business, this is what my number should be?
I mean, that's the easiest way to do it, is to go back for the last year and say, okay, how much am I actually worth? If I do, I made X this year, it took me this long. And usually you're going to be doing a lot more hours, which is going to lower your average there. So that number is going to be a lot less, but figuring out what that is, I think, is super important. So figuring out, yes, okay, I worked X, I got paid Y, which equals I am worth Z. Get that number. And then ask yourself, okay, what do I need to be worth to live my vision, to be living my goal? What does that number need to be? And then say, okay, how can I change up things? Because everyone's going to be so different as far as how they get there. So I said, okay, I want to be worth at least 300 or 350 an hour. Now, when I went to new clients, first thing I did, I raised my prices significantly. I started turning down work that was less than that, or turning down opportunities that was less than that. One of the best things you can do is start saying no to more, and really getting focused on the opportunities that are going to help you get that. And that comes, again, there's another mindset you got to deal with, right? Like the abundance versus poverty mindset, fear that, can I make it happen? And, but yeah, figure out what you're worth today, which is the easy math, and then figure out what do you need to be worth according to your vision. What does that number need to be? And you're going to be surprised. Eventually you're going to exceed that number. But that's where I would start.
David, for you, it's easy, man. Like, our business has lost a lot of money last year. So like you're already like in the negative price per hour.
So why is that a you statement? Why is that not a we statement?
Well, it's mainly
Stu said his side of the business doing great. Yours
my side's doing great.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because the last year, my time commitment to the Navy was substantially higher than his, and his time to the business was higher. So I'm starting to wonder.
You might need to be looking for that new business partner more than you think.
Yeah, that's true. Well, unfortunately, I can't afford to pay off the current one.
Current one. Oh man, that's good. Joe, you said something that reminded me of another conversation that Dave and I had recently about saying no more often and setting up boundaries. And I think, me personally, I've really had to try to implement that more recently. I have a lot of people coming to me, and I love it, right? It's kind of, we all love to help and serve and teach and give. But there is a time where like I can't do that all the time. And so I've recently had to just start saying no to people. And it's really hard for me to do that. I'm curious, how, when you bring a business in, a new client that has a small business, like how do you start? What is the framework of systemology, and how do you kind of get them going into this idea and mindset of creating these systems for their business, and saying no to things and saying yes to others, and kind of creating these systems for their business? Like, what's that framework look like?
Well, the first thing that happens is when we do an initial connect call, which is like a 20-30 minute call. And I have two models that we walk through, which give me a really clear idea as far as where they and their business are. And if my team and I can actually make a significant impact, like if now is the right time. And for the ones that it's like, hey, you're a solopreneur right now, you don't have any other people on board, you don't have the bandwidth like to really commit to something, I love to say no. Like, you are not at a good place. For me, on my side, I'm like, you're not my ideal client. Like, could I help you? 100%. I can help a ton of people. But can I make that significant impact? And is this the best thing for them right now? So that's the initial way that I personally start to say no to them is, if they don't meet that handful of criteria. Now, I want them to walk away. I try to always have anyone I interact with walk away with some piece of value. So if they're in a place, I've had the lawn mowing conversation with quite a few people. It's like, what you need to do is figure out which revenue stream you want to turn into a business right now. You need to go hire someone to mow that, acre or two that you live on, and get the time, and get a property manager to manage that property so you can have the time to focus on this. But right now is not the best time. So I have to say no for the both of us. And then from there, I'm just going through, and systemology, we begin with the sexy way of saying it is getting the DNA of repeatability out of their head and onto paper. The unsexy way of saying it is we create SOPs. So repeatable processes that if we follow these handful of steps, we get a consistent outcome. And now that's measurable. Now that is clear for expectations. We can more easily train others. That's step one, is we've just got to get your business on paper so that there's clarity and it's easily communicated to anyone that you want to bring in or who is currently part of the team. And then it kind of depends on the person, but a lot of the mindset things, I mean, that's sort of like I'm adding the nuggets and saying, hey, here are the best practices for how you can start to create this systems culture. But I admit my focus is not on mindset. I'm not a life coach. So I kind of give them the basics, but I can't force them, and I can't handhold them into doing it. So I know that that's not like a super specific answer as far as, well, I have them do this. Like at a certain point, like it's like I can build the foundation for you and give you all of the tools, and I can even tell you best practices, but they've got to do it. I can't manage their business for them. So does that kind of give some framework for what you're asking?
Yeah, definitely, dude. Yeah, for sure.
And I'm curious. So can you walk us through, I'm curious on the structure of your business. When someone reaches out, they say, I need someone like Joe Newton in my life. They give you a call. Like, what do you, because to me, it's funny you say you're not a life coach, but to me, it sounds very much like you coach people through
Yeah.
the process, right? They
Yeah, I
have
bet
to
you
do
there
it,
is a bunch of mindset. Yeah.
I feel
Right.
like, I feel like it's baked in. So I'm just curious, so if we were to call and say, hey, dude, we need some Joe Newton love in the business. Like, what does that look like? Is it consulting and Zoom calls, or are you guys like going into their business? Like, what does that look like?
Well, we have 3 different ways that we tend to work with clients. We have the do-it-yourself, done with you, done for you options. The do-it-yourself, that's a self-paced online course. Basically, they're purchasing the framework, right? And I recommend that to almost no one because the small business owners that I am usually working with, they don't have the bandwidth or the discipline to do it themselves. That's why we're talking. This is not rocket science. And usually I've already sent them the book in the mail. So the basic framework, they've already, have that in front of them. So mostly what we're doing is the done for you, which is where we come in and we have a system that we go through and we say, okay, let's identify your critical client flow, your core systems that if we get those documented, it's going to have the biggest impact on your business. Now let's identify who the key knowledge workers are within your business, who that system currently lives in. Let's extract that out of their head, usually through like a Zoom call. Although sometimes if it's, like there was one company who was did like vacuuming for, what do you call those gutters, like gutter cleaning? They had to take like a little GoPro, but follow the guy, but get that example and then create the written documentation. And then we train their team on, okay, here's how we start to use this documentation. And then from there, we can start to create some simple dashboards because, what is the inspect what you expect? You gotta measure those things. So it's like, how do we create simple dashboards that you can start to measure and then begin to optimize from? So most of our clients, that's what they do. We also do have that done with you, which is ideally if they have someone who we call a systems champion. So has a bend towards being, system minded. We say, hey, let's take the DNA that's in our head and let's put it in their head. We'll do a done with you, or we'll walk through the whole steps of how to do this. So at the end of that, they are confident and now they can be the one within the business to identify systems and then create it. So that's sort of the altogether. That's my goal for most of my clients, is that we help them lay the foundation. Then we get someone in their business who now can update those systems, create new systems, and keep the ball rolling. And part of the big thing with that is after the third session, unless we are specifically getting a system from the business owner, we say, hey, you're done. We're doing this for you. We'll work with your staff. We'll get it out. You go focus on what you do best right now. We're the who you're looking for to systemize your business. And then we'll meet up with you, at the end of every 3-month sprint and say, okay, this is what we've done. This is our goals for the next 3 months, and then move on from there.
So what does success look like for a company that comes in that has no systems, no processes, no nothing? What does success look like at the end of going through the process with you?
Yeah. So at the end, so usually that's going to take about 12 to 18 months of working with the client. Wow. And at the end of that time, they're going to have a fully documented business. They're going to have a systems champion in place to continue and champion the systems culture. They're going to have dashboards in place so that their business is measurable. And we have a whole systemology model. So there's a whole slew of things that are going to be in place. But I would say for the business owner specifically, they now have certainty of outcome within their business. They have measurable performance and they have team buy-in there. So now the owner can, if they want, they can have an investment, not a job anymore. So if they want to bring in an operator, run any things, awesome. Whatever they do best, now they can function within their business or out of their business, or they can sell their business. But that's what success looks like, is having that complete business reliability.
So you said two things that kind of hit me kind of hard, because we had some challenges in our business where, there's culture and there's buy-in you talked about. And, there could be people in your business that don't want to buy in to your system or your process that you're trying to implement. So how do you get someone who is just stuck in their own way and is going to do the way that they do it every time, how they want to do it, and it's all up here, right? Like, how do you get someone that's in your business to buy in and have this culture of this system-minded business, and change that?
Just severe threatening. Threaten,
like that.
You've seen The Godfather?
Yeah.
No. And okay, so a couple of things. One thing that you said is it's up here. Step number one, get it out of here. and get it on paper so that expectations are clear to everyone.
How about sticky notes? Sticky notes all over
the
office table.
So we talk about the 4 stages of business systemization. The second one is stationary. And I usually say when I go into a business who's in that phase, I know because there is stationary everywhere. There's sticky notes with passwords, sticky notes with questions to ask clients. Yeah, no, we get that out of their heads on paper in the cloud because it's 2022 to where everyone can see it and expectations are super clear. Now and then we manage from that document. And sometimes people, once everything's clear, because there can be assumptions when things are in heads, there are assumptions. What you're assuming your VA is going to do is probably going to be a little bit different from what they're assuming or what they heard you say. Anyone who's played telephone knows that, right?
Right.
So once we have it documented and there's clarity for everyone, and even better if we can have it measurable in some way. So I like the example that they have in Traction, where he talks about one number for everyone, and he gives the example of the secretary says, 3 rings good. It's like anything over 3 rings is bad. Anything under 3 rings is good for answering the phone. And so if we can tie a number to it, that's even better. But once we have those in place, and then we've had a conversation with this person, and they're just still saying, nope, I want to do it my way, or no, I want to make this shortcut, then we need to have that hard conversation and say, is this the right person for our company? Do we want to work with someone who doesn't want to buy into the success of what we're doing? And sometimes you have to let them go.
And I feel like there's also an element of teaching a mindset that to help us all recognize the benefits of the system.
Yeah.
How ultimately, while we think, we can do things the best, because I think we all think our method, I'm very realistic. I'm very self-aware that my method is absolutely garbage. I'm always looking for a thing, right? I'm always looking for the thing to help me get organized. So I'm not necessarily taking the actions to be organized. I'm looking for the thing to help me to get organized. I know that about myself, but I think once you kind of nail that down, what I recognize is that there's comfort once I find that thing, or once I implement it, really more importantly, implementing it, there's comfort in that system. And there's also efficiencies and effectiveness that'll get you out of this current cycle. Right. I think it seems like that's part of it too.
Yeah. And like you just said, setting expectations up and making sure everyone's clear. And that's one of the things we do when we go into a new company is multiple times we're articulating not just, hey, this is why it's good for the company and as a whole that we systemize the business, but here's why it's actually really good for you. Now we can more easily train someone to back up what you do. So you can go take a vacation and feel really awesome that everything's going to be done to your standard. And when you get back, there's not going to be any fires that you have to clean up. Like, this is going to enable you as well to learn other skills within the business to become more valuable to this business. Or if you do decide to move on, you'll have other skills to then share in that other place. So communicating that value, like you said, as far as the why behind it, for them specifically is really important too.
I just hit up a guy that I've been talking to who is in our Life and Air group. And I'm like, hey, do you know Joe Newton? Have you talked to him?
Is that where you just went? He just went off screen real quick.
He had to run off screen. But I'll tell you, it's interesting because when we're talking about these things, it's you can hear and sense the stress of, like even asking very pointed questions like, okay, your business is multifaceted. Are you able to assign a number to every one of those elements? So then you can actually analyze and assess where your time within this multifaceted business, whether there's a service element, a sales element, there's all these different elements to it. Are you able to accurately say where your time is best spent? Or are you bouncing around? Because effectively, if there's a multifaceted element of your business, those are multiple businesses. I mean, they can really,
100%.
they should be assessed as such, right?
Yep.
And so it's very hard to even have a discussion with somebody about these things if those are unknown quantities. And then when you assess whether you're making money or losing money, it's very difficult because you don't know where. You haven't delineated, okay, my sales are up or my sales are down. You just have this bigger picture of, well, here's my total number, but without any true understanding of it. Did it come from the service? Did it come from the sales? Did it come from the, whatever? And I'll tell you, it's super stressful. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating as the business owner. Yeah. But it's frustrating as somebody that you're, as a business owner coming to talk to someone like me and be like, hey, let's talk through this. And I'm asking questions about it. It's frustrating for both parties. And then defensiveness sets in and you're like, dude, I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to cause you any stress, but you're stressing me out with, I can't understand how the business is operating. And so I think these things, we talk about it, how it can make your business efficient, but I don't think it's about just business. I think it's about life. Yeah. I think it's about getting some of that back.
Well, that's why
it's so valuable.
I was going to say, that's why, in my little elevator pitch, I help business owners get free from the day-to-day operations so they can focus on what they do best. Like you said, the life part, what you do best, maybe what you do best is being an amazing father in this season. Maybe what you do best is sowing into a generation. Maybe what you do best is taking the influence that you're getting because you're running a profitable business and going into new areas and having influence with other business leaders so that you can help change their lives. And, this Christian podcast for me, that's a big one, is I want to have influence within the business arena so that I can sow into other people. There's this verse I've been digging into in Luke. I think it's like Luke 16 or something, the unjust or the ungood servant. I forget depending on what translation you're going into, but where at the end of that, Jesus says, you need to learn how these money systems work so that when they fail, when the money fails other people, those others are going to come to you for refuge. So I need to be able to know how all of these business systems, finance stuff work and be able to build wealth. So when someone else has a failure in their life, they run to me and say, hey, it's working for you. Can you help me? And I can say, do you really want the answer? You want the real deal? And it's like, that's one of the things I love about Life in Air. Steve is like, okay, I'll give you what you think you need first, which is the real estate life vision. But you're going to get some bonus Jesus in there, no extra charge. Yeah. And so that's, yes, all that to say is I totally agree. At the end of the day, it is bigger than just the business.
Yeah. I mean, and just, back to that lawn mowing scenario, like I can spend 2 hours out mowing my lawn, or I can go hire somebody and I don't even have to work on my business during those 2 hours. I can go be a dad and hang out with my son, and play with them. Like that's way more valuable than anything I'm going to do in business right now.
Just don't mention what color the sky is. Okay.
Right. Or tell them I'm going to take a shower.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, dude, he's probably freaking out about the shower because most of us that know and love you are just shocked that you do shower.
Ha ha ha. Joe, this is fun, man. This is a good time. I really appreciate you coming on. This has been a fun conversation, and I look forward to seeing you and hanging out when we come to Texas pretty soon.
Woo!
David, you're not invited.
I don't want to go to Texas.
Oh man,
you need to get that David guy born again.
That's right. That's right. Texas is its own country, right?
It's the promised land.
It's the birthplace of Jesus. I forgot. I forgot.
Little known facts.
Little known fact. But Jesus was born in Texas. Yeah. Went over to Israel and in the Middle East after that.
That's right.
Hey, Joe, I just want to thank you, man. One thing that how you kind of wrap this whole thing up is, and Stu and I are huge believers and huge proponents of achieving our highest and best, right? And what does that mean? And you're doing you're running a business that practically helps people to get control, right? Systems help you get control. And that control then enables you to be your highest and best, whatever that is. And I appreciate you saying, you know, maybe your highest and best is to be a dad in the season. Maybe your highest and best is to support your, you know, your wife or your husband's business or whatever that is. Or maybe it's to be that person that always has to carry your business partner, like the season that I'm in currently. And so I think, you know, I think there's so much power. It's not just about systems, and it's not just about efficiency, because efficiency equals money and blah, blah, blah. It's not about that. It's about that, you know, it's a business, so that's part of it, but it's about empowering yourself through this organization and through having somebody, and despite your best efforts to not be a coach, dude, you're a coach, man. You are a life coach. You're helping people to get to a place that they are their highest and best in life. And I think that is through a very practical system, but it's, at the end of the day, it's potentially one of the most powerful tools that someone could reach out to and refine to get to the place that they really want to be. And I think that is just hugely powerful. And I think it makes a huge difference. I think it, you know, is life-giving. And so I just want to thank you for what you do, man. I think it's beautiful, and it's amazing that people can achieve a freedom, effectively achieve freedom through what you're offering. Which, how do you put a price tag on that? Like it's $350 plus $1 for an hour.
Yeah, it's like I have accomplished that, but yeah. Well, thanks, David. Awesome, I appreciate that, man.
Joe, how do people get in touch with you if they want to reach out and learn more about EIJ? I
was going to say, if I will create a bonus little website just for you guys' audience. If y'all go to eijsystems.com/storehouse, I'll put a little link there. If you're a business owner, you want to connect, you can do it through that website, as well as I'll share my system for creating systems on there. Totally free. Don't even ask for your email. So Feel free to go there.
That's awesome, man. We'll put that.
Dude, that's how good Joe is on the spot. He can create a website like that. That's awesome.
Good stuff. Awesome, well, guys and gals, hey, reach out to Joe. He has a wealth of information, wealth of knowledge on all things systems and processes, and he's just an all-around good dude. So connect with him. If you enjoyed his podcast episode, please share it with your friends and family. Take a screenshot, post it on social media, and tag us on it. We'd greatly appreciate it. And we always like 5 stars. And hey, go fill your storehouse.
Make it a great day, friends. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Joe. You're the man. Joe. Thank you, buddy.
Adios.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to Filling the Storehouse. If you enjoyed our show, please subscribe and share it with someone you love. And if you really felt inspired, leave a 5-star review so we could continue to grow and help other Christian entrepreneurs fill their storehouse. If you're interested in creating financial freedom through real estate investing, be sure to check out our website at storehouse310turnkey.com. We'd love to serve you through our platform of building the kingdom. Just click on the contact link and we'll reply to you as soon as we can. Again, thanks so much for listening. Now go fill your storehouse and make it a great day.